Someone else. I assume it was someone.
I'm
Sometimes
assuming that.
went along the road. Yeah.
Because one thing is taken out of this thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Someone.
When you hear that we're recording, we're live.
Okay. Clean up our act. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Wednesday, 12 July 2023, and the Waterville Valley Select Board Regular Board Meeting. I am Rich Reed, the chair, and today also with us is Bob Freeze, the vice chair, and Wendy Rath, the Select Board member. So we have a quorum. So our next item on the agenda is a public hearing, but I see a lot of people here potentially for privilege of the floor. All right, so why don't we go ahead and I'll make a motion to move into public hearing. Do I have a second? All in favor? Okay, so the purpose of this public hearing is that it is the second required hearing per state law on town's purchase of a lot of lands, lot 107.3, for the purpose of constructing a new wastewater treatment facility. This lot is adjacent to our current municipal area here. They're actually adjacent to the current water treatment facility. And the negotiated price with the current owners by Rail Development, $400,000. So this is the second of the two before we have a final vote. Second of the two public hearing. Anybody have any comments or receive any comments after our first? No comments. Does any on the board wish to say anything? Oh, I see a couple more people coming.
How big is a parcel of land?
2.13 acres, I think.
And that's the best number we can get, huh?
It has been a long negotiating process. Yes. And it involved, there was a revaluation in the middle of it, and then there was a state analysis, the ratio analysis, what's it technically called?
Things on sales ratio.
Sales ratio analysis. So all that went into trying to come up with
A number.
a number, but we did try, yes. And we were pursuing eminent domain, but we stopped. Because of the extra expense. Because of the extra expense.
I was gonna ask
because of the
why.
Sales ratio,
Yep.
analysis done by the state.
Thank you.
And we did have our own company did
Appraisal.
appraisal. So
Right.
we had a commercial land appraisal of the property as well. So all of that went into the decision.
Yeah, we've been at this since last
Yeah.
fall, I think.
Yeah.
Longer, right?
Not even-
Um,
I think we felt it was the best we could do, so we.
I guess.
So where's the line located exactly?
It's right next to the water treatment facility. It's
Where that green fence
this
is.
is when you drive in
It's
Clearwater
that
Lane
parcel all the way to
on
the
the left. Most of it is wetland, I believe, a big chunk of it.
Yeah, a large part of it is wetland, but it is critical for the design that we're currently looking at. With the wastewater treatment plant, that we have that parcel, because we cannot build the type of plant that we're looking at right now on the land that the town currently uses.
Which is also the smallest footprint.
And this is the smallest footprint of any of the different types of plants.
And we have to build a plant while keeping the current.
Current plant going, so we can
Find a whole new place. And I believe this amount was in the town.
Yes. This is the amount that we showed you on the budget.
At town meeting in March. Further, anybody? Okay, so if no more comments, nothing from the board, close the public hearing. Aye. All right, so we'd like to vote on that now.
Yep. And make the motion that we, purchase the land for $400,000. But
107,
great.
all in favor? Aye. Okay, so. On that, I can
And just so the,
get back.
so the public knows, we have a closing currently scheduled for the end of
That's right.
this month. So, in line with the next select board meeting, we're in the process of preparing the deeds and getting all of the final paperwork so that we can do it first.
Can I also ask a question?
Sure.
Over here where Will has his property?
That's not Will.
Oh, it isn't
That's
Will?
not- That it's a new company in town, that is parcel we're buying.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so again, no one here for privilege before, which is you on then to approval of the minutes. Oh,
How do you know there's no?
And is there anybody with the privilege of the
anyone
floor,
else? I'll ask.
anything not on the agenda that you want to talk about?
Okay, no big deal. All right, so approval of the minutes, 14 June 2023. I think.
There was a second edit that went out to you electronically.
Yes.
yesterday.
Yes, saw that. And
So that's really what you're voting on.
the second ended, right, as amended by. Okay, anybody have anything further they'd like to say about the minutes? We're good with it. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of 14 June 2023 regular select board meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Financial report.
We'll look at those at our next meeting, Rich.
Yeah, that should not.
We
be
have
on
one.
there.
Right. That's right. We're not doing them every.
Not every-
Once a
every-
month.
every month, so. Okey-doke. Moving on then to department head reports. Chief Payer, how are you today?
Good.
See you hanging out there in the corner.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can make a quick break.
Yeah, exactly.
You never know, it could be an emergency, right?
So we're full staff again. I'm talking to Mark. We'll introduce her next meeting to you guys. She was sworn in on Monday, so we are now back full staff. You won't really see her though around town. She'll be in the academy till, off the top of my head, November 19th. So what's her name? Amanda Phelps is her name. So I think she'll do really well. And then we swore Jim in as part-time police as well. So going in for Jeff. Thefts in town are up. I'm gonna do some sort of marketing campaign, again, about locking your doors and locking your cars, encouraging businesses to, they have cameras already, but encouraging them to continue having cameras or even put some up. A business put up a couple cameras for me on some thefts and we're able to identify them and arrested them. And so it is happening here, and I want the residents to know that we are not excluded from any crimes that do happen. They do happen here.
These commercial property thefts.
Those two were, yes, but we're having some more car break-ins. If you lock your car, they're not smashing windows. It's just a kind of opportunity to open the doors and taking stuff. We've had some bicycles stolen as well. We've recovered one. But it's just a matter of just people being vigilant again. If you see something, call us, don't hesitate. Other than that, it's pretty consistent busy wise on our side, police wise, unfortunately. And fire and EMS is going really good. Jim's been a great asset. I'm sure Dave has said that, but he's been phenomenal. Stepped right in Jeff's shoes. And no big shoes, but he's done a great job, training wise and stuff. So.
How the traffic count.
We're gonna do the June, July, and August and get a whole summer breakdown of what numbers are in June.
Anecdotally, what are you seeing?
It's busy, really busy. Like, I think it's because of GRC, in all honesty. A lot of traffic during the week for them coming in and out of town, and a lot of work in town. So there's a lot of people here.
Much by way of noise complaints?
Noise complaints, I think we had construction, 0, not 1. This weekend, I think we had 2 at around 12:30, 1 o'clock. different places. One, I think was a hotel, and one was residential. So Airbnbs are, as I'm driving around town, I'm seeing that, they're filling up again for the summer, so we'll get some nice good place for there as well. That's pretty much it. For this one.
Chief Mayor about police.
I'd just like to
Yeah,
point out
yeah,
that last
fire.
year we had about 200 plus or minus calls for service in fire EMS. We're already,
And I think we had 260 off the top of my head, it's like 260 last year for the full year. And we're at-
We're already
right at 200
200.
Starting Memorial Day or from January?
in January. So we're almost as many as all of last year. So
Are they evenly spread out? It was most of that, say, January, February during ski.
a big
a big chunk is always there.
January, February, but a lot more calls now and during the shorter season than we've seen.
I mean, we had two last night. We had,
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
get that kind of analysis for you during the budget season,
Yeah.
but again, it's like a lot of our services.
Everything, right,
It's
whether it's
way shorter
wastewater,
season instead of being down here.
yeah, we're not doing that anymore.
right, doesn't matter then.
Mhm.
Yeah, DPW,
Yeah.
water, it's all.
How many full-time and part-time employees do we have?
So we have 7 full-time police, and then in all, we have another full-timer that's fire, that would be Jim, so but he's part-time police. And then we have Cody. I think 5 part-time, but really 1 consistently works right now, 1.5.
I'm just curious.
Yeah,
That's a
so
Great job
it's-
with what you got. Jeff.
Yeah, so we have 8 full-time is what we have, and but then we have per diems that help out as well. To cover fire and EMS at night from other places, but I think our run list is maybe 15 in all with everybody, maybe a little bit more than that, but only 8 full-time.
We've been seeing any disputes between neighbors.
Yeah, well, yes and no. We have an area of town, I won't say where it is, but we get more there than anywhere else.
I know where it is.
We do. So
So,
I-
yes, we do get some where people just can't get along, whether it's,
Yep.
Yeah.
sometimes it's condo stuff, sometimes it's not, so. Yeah, we definitely have our share of that sometimes.
You mediate most of those issues.
If we get called, we do, yes.
I think the big vote's this weekend.
Would you say?
I said, I think the big vote is this weekend.
In the unnamed place.
It's a condo association.
Yeah. On the arrests or the interventions you've been experiencing, are they mostly teenagers that you're seeing, and are they residents or visitors mostly that are perpetrating these problems?
I want to say half and half now, probably residents and visitors. We have a lot more employees living in town in certain spots and situations, so. I'd say still probably a little bit more visitor than residents, but we are having more residents. The 2 thefts that I'm gonna arrest people for, one's a resident and one is not, so 50-50 right there.
So these car thefts, I mean, thefts from
These are
cars.
commercial buildings.
Oh,
So it's, I wouldn't say it's 50-50, but it's not too far off.
One little thing, I think I just lost track. The new cruisers outside with.
The new cruiser, we don't even have it yet.
Oh,
It's
so they're still waiting on.
I actually just got, when I came back to the office, I have a voicemail to call them. We are next on the list, so we just need to decide what package we want. We've already paid for it, but what package we want exactly for lights. And then the next thing that we'll have is we'll bring it over there with Cruiser One. They'll take out the radar, the radio, and the computer, put them in a new car, and then we'll get them. So,
I think we still have to finally decide on disposition after.
so we are still currently using Cruiser One.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, the slide across, Steve, what's going on in admin service?
A lot of my time over the past few weeks has been associated with working on disbursement requests for some grants that we have open. We have a security fence grant that's open that I want to close out in the next month or so for the water treatment facility. The fence that went up around that building was partially grant eligible, so I want to get those funds in. We're still working on the housing planning grant, getting disbursement request for that grant and the cybersecurity grant as well. I put in our first disbursement request for that grant for $25,000 of $100,000. And what that $25,000 was incorporating was we got a new computer in our wastewater treatment plant that has enhanced security capabilities. We have initiated conversations with our vendor that we chose to upgrade our accounting and HR software. And the third piece was an upgrade to our firewall here in town. Outside of that, it's really working with our IT vendor all around that cybersecurity front on starting the process of transferring our data that we have on physical servers up into the cloud so it's more secure, which is going to be a pretty comprehensive, probably year-long project. Our goal is to try to get the data organized in the cloud through a folder structure first before we bring all the data over. So we're not just bringing, one data set into a new environment without making some improvements to it first from an organizational standpoint. And we're going to go through our retention policies and kind of cull, what we can cull through this process too. So that's been a lot of my time, grant administration and IT stuff. The office itself, town hall, we've been busy. The calls have been,
You have a sheet in the packet tray in front of you that shows you summaries for the post office,
Okay.
vehicle
All right.
registration,
Thank you.
the building permit. I've also PDF this and I'll send it to you electronically so you can spend some more time. with it. But that'll give you the values.
So Tony was back yesterday, but she was gone again today. She basically back.
yep, she'll be back on the 17th.
Yesterday was kind of like their last one to fill in, so that it didn't have to fill it, so-
Correct. Yeah. Back full time on the 17th.
I met during, I'm sorry, during budget time, I imagine we'll be going over the data with regard to previous year and
Mhm.
try to project out 2024
Yeah,
Costs.
yes.
and revenues. And
Really?
The registration.
Yeah, really busy month last month for motor vehicle registrations. One of our largest ever, 91 total motor vehicle transactions happened in town hall last month, where it's usually 60 or 70 or so. A lot of June birthdays, I guess. Yeah.
Keith, I was just thinking, Mark brought up number thing. I didn't realize that we have a new system, like look at it at any time. So far this year, we've had 977 calls.
Those are just discrete events, right? They're not.
That could be
necessarily
anything from
separate.
our stop
Right.
to follow-ups to, it's just stuff that we're doing. And just in the last 120 hours, we have 35. So, that's three.
But they can be lumped together with one event.
Nope,
Okay.
no, a lot of them are not. They're all separate because we can.
They are separate.
Yeah, because so now you can actually put an incident and arrest in one column.
Okay, and that comes.
It
out
actually,
One entry.
it used to be more numbers, now it's less numbers.
Right.
So these numbers are more indicative of, like, even if we've gone a follow-up related to something we did the day before, so they're actually really high.
Okay, it's actually discrete events.
Yep.
Okay.
On the very back page of that packet that Mark handed to you, you'll notice something I started tracking as well, which is the amount of times we get to spend with you every year, and how that's consistently been increasing over the
Mhm.
past 12 years or so.
She's so great for you guys.
It is, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
That is,
Yep.
that's amazing.
Yep. So for just on the low point back in 2012, we had 23 selectmen meetings. And last year in 2022, we had 47.
But these are all sorts of meetings, right?
These are regularly scheduled selectmen's and special meetings. Yep,
Workshops.
included.
Included.
So we've had a number of those.
Anytime we've posted in with them.
Okay, so it could be the many meetings we've had on the wastewater treatment facility.
Correct. Yep.
Which wasn't going, which we're not going on back in 2012.
Very true.
Well,
Yeah.
That's actually an handy. Has the K commensurate?
I think the last adjustment we made was
and all the things.
last. Yeah.
Okay, anything else, Steve? Anything else? Let's see. Okay, that's what Brad,
No, there's nothing else happening.
admin, okay. Great. Mr. Dower, I see you're here. Talk to us about roads.
First of all, I want to say that as the new guy / visitor to the group, I am honored to spend as much time as possible with you all.
Definitely.
There's no cookies back there.
No, so the road project, for those that are paying attention to that, is going along fast and furious now that the
Yeah.
4th of July break is over.
I heard them like at 7:01, I think it was.
They are
Turning away.
ready to crank up right at start time. For those that haven't been down in the area, all the asphalt has now been removed from Tecumseh all the way down to Village on Snows Brook. And they are about to the river, starting from Village, they're working back towards Tecumseh with the box, which is basically removing 18 inches of the poor material that's under the road right now and bringing in 18 inches of new, very good compactable material. So they're moving along pretty fast. And hard to believe that after all the rain, it was getting dusty today. So I did ask them to start watering the road so that we can keep the dust down. We're just gonna have to deal with that anytime it's not raining, which hopefully it won't be. Be thankful we're not in Montpelier or Burlington, Vermont. Feel sorry for those folks over there, but the project is going along smoothly. And I think they are planning to do what they call fine grading week after next, which means they're going to have all the box built all the way out up to Tecumseh to Valley by the end of next week. And then they will do fine grading and put down the first layer of asphalt sometime shortly after that. So it's going on quite well.
So asphalt's maybe 3 weeks away, 3 or 4 weeks away.
The beginning of that, 3 or 4 weeks away, because after they get the box done and get that fine grading done, then the actual reclaiming of the section from Village around to Boulder Path, that's the grinding up and putting it back down. That's got to happen next. So it'll be probably a good 4 weeks before we see the base layer of asphalt. And that's all weather dependent, of course. Weather is gonna impact that, but all the drainage work is done. All the cross culverts are in. And so it's going on quite well.
One question, do we have a better sense now of when the municipal on-street parking area will be touched and how long it will be that way? Talking about between Village and Boulder Path.
No, from Boulder Path Road. Yeah, okay, from by the golf club.
Across from the golf, right?
Yeah, that'll be the very end.
Right.
Where the new one
Okay.
is.
Right, we're
Because
gonna.
that's not
Right.
part of the contract, that's our guys.
That'll be the town crew doing that. We are moving the currently the path that's not connected to the road over to the road
Right.
on that section. And
I thought we were skipping that section in lieu of going over to Davis.
We're not gonna reclaim the road surface, we're just gonna have the 8 foot pedestrian bike.
Oh. That's a refund.
No, it's the creation of the bike
Okay, so.
beside the existing road
Right,
surface.
and then we're gonna shift everything.
Yeah, we're gonna straight the way, and then the parking spaces
Right,
that are currently across from the golf clubhouse
right,
will move on to the golf clubhouse side
right.
of the,
Okay, I just want to make sure that we give Craig a heads up as to
yeah, we'll.
when we think we have some.
We-
dates.
We've met with Craig on that and it's on the cruise schedule. I can't tell you exactly when it's gonna happen, but it's.
That's fine.
It's in the works. It's in the works, in the plan.
Okay. Dylan and hello, Richard. What's happening in water and wastewater? Like, who's minding the store of both of you guys here?
The alarm system right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Just been super busy lately with all of the rainfall on the wastewater end particularly. In that packet Mark gave you,
You have this.
it has the water and wastewater numbers. And as you can see, January through June, we're already looking quite a bit above, about 1 million gallons above where we were last year. And last year was the highest numbers I think we had in almost a decade, or over a decade, I should say.
Yeah, right now we're 1.2 million over.
Yeah.
Where we were last year at this time.
And for July, the date, anyway, 12 days in, we're already at 2.2 million gallons for the month. And compared to July 22 for the entire month was 3.6 million gallons. And that's not factoring in all of the rainfall that lands on the lagoons, the surface area of the lagoons. So for every inch we have, it's just over 91,000 gallons. So, you know, if you're just looking at the past 3 months, for example, that's over 15 inches of rainfall. That's significant. It's almost 1.5 million gallons. So to put that into perspective, we can only put out about 400,000 gallons a day if everything is perfect. So that at 1.5 million gallons a day, that's multiple days of runtime that we have to make up. So
Are you blowing through the budget for
Yeah.
chemicals?
we're here on the
Electricity.
weekends, so it's one of those.
Electricity, chemicals and staff.
Staff time?
Yeah, so it's just one of those things that we can't control the weather. So unfortunately, it's not just us in this boat, it's everyone in this, you know, in New England for that matter, that's getting the rainfall. It's
You have all the problems. I'll take this one over.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But other than operations at the plant, things are going well. Just trying to keep our heads above water and keep plugging away and
And the good news is that with the new system, we won't have this issue.
Right.
where 91,000 gallons.
on the surface
per
here.
inch.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be continuous. And for people that aren't aware, the plant that we currently have, we have had the luxury in the past of being able to shut it down and walk away from it on the weekends. It's kind of like a 2-part plant, whereas the new facility will be a 24/7, 365 operation that will never shut down.
Well, you know, you have 2 big lagoons where you could
Store,
store.
Yeah.
So Monday,
exactly,
Tuesday.
and flow attenuation. Yeah.
But also 2 big lagoons that catch all the rainwater too.
That's the negative side to it, yeah.
Yeah.
But the positive is that in the past anyway, what you could do is you could drain the lagoons down by running overnight. So say back even 3 years ago when I started, July, we would only average about 90,000 gallons a day. Our average for the month right now is 188,000 gallons rigged up. So in an 8-hour day, what we typically would operate, we could only put out about 120,000 gallons. So even on an 8-hour shift, we're still behind what we're getting in on a regular day. You know, it's not like any major events. 4th of July was a big one, but
Yeah.
every other day is still
And
high. So
and just looking across these numbers, we're 900,000 ahead this year. But that year, or 22, we were 1.2 million above 21.
right.
So right now, we're running 2 million ahead of 21. With what we're seeing.
So like everything else in services, everything.
Well, but it's, a lot of it is the
We
rain.
do have the range.
And on the water side, you'll see we are equivalent to 21.
Mhm.
We're down from 22. But again, I think that's whether,
Well, bear in mind, we removed the water ban halfway through
That's right.
21.
And
So
that's-
22
that's
did
what
not
I
have a
was
water
going.
ban. Yeah,
and so 22, I believe that this reduction, the 1.2 million reduction is probably related to, to the water ban and the fact that we had irrigation in 22.
right.
We did not have it for most of 21. And
There's no reason
nobody's
to irrigate.
irrigating now because
Yeah.
we're trying to get rid of it. So it's probably an irrigation related phenomenon
Increase.
that we're seeing. So, but we are tracking right after 21 numbers. So the commercials and the other users
Right.
are here at the same slightly higher level.
Even driving around town seems more busy now than it has years
So
recently, right? So. That's all I got for you.
Okay, so, let's see, anything else in DPW?
Yeah, BTW also in that package, you've got our annual, I've updated the annual transportation cost calculation. Comparatively to 22, we're looking at a increase in our per trip cost. That's being driven primarily through the fuel and personnel costs. Maintenance also kind of has hit us. We've had some issues with the truck. And that forced us to go out and find a contract while we made the repairs.
I remember that.
So that's also part. So 22, the last time you looked at this, we did not have a full year on the sheet. So 22 is now the full year that we just closed out.
Almost 40% year over year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then 23 is.
And then 23 is still right, and it's still higher than the 21. Right, that's what that 14% is. And then
Numbers for drinking water and wastewater.
So I have those. What we have done is we've done 3-year comparisons. So it showed, like last year, for example, I had 20 through 22. The year previous was 19 through 20.
Yeah, just the COVID is sort of.
Sure.
yeah, we'll put.
Anything else on,
No, they're working on road repairs, finishing up,
Manholes.
manholes and, we are on a schedule to have those hand paid. We have the infrared company coming in to make, repairs on selected points around town. The smaller patches.
Mhm.
Rather than just use full patch. During the rain periods where they can't be outside, we've been doing clean up in the garage and reorganization. With the breakers down there. And
The-
keeping up with the rest.
The other grant that we've been facilitating is a grant through FEMA. That was to repair 2 manholes in town. And we're gonna be repairing a culvert up on Jennings Peak. Hopefully this summer through that grant.
And obviously, we've been working on the issues around town and how we with our property owner tomorrow about some high water on their property. So we'll take care of that. And cleaning out culverts and just making repairs on the shoulders as they happen. It's been a little challenging to keep up with the grass. Kind of like the one that need to work at. But there's not a whole lot we can do to get out there when the sun comes out. Try to stay. That's true. Well, we like the grass.
Well, I mean, it is worth remembering that if you take out of the equation, you're the deaf guy. You take out of the equation, water and wastewater, you look at public works in terms of solid waste disposal, buildings and grounds and roads. There are 5 people, 5 full-time and 1 part-time. 6 really, but we're down
We're down.
1. And that really hasn't changed for some time.
And yeah, and publicly, I want to commend Dylan and Rich. Right now, the 2 of them are doing 6 people's worth of work when you look at the recommended staffing. According to our town staffing, it's only 4. But that's, we're already running a department that's under the recommended number, but the 2 of them right now are doing everything in wastewater and water, and I just want to publicly thank them for the hard work that they're putting in. We're in the middle of breakpoint chlorination, which is a major part of our permit and causes a lot more treatment of the water at the wastewater treatment facility, and they're killing it. So I really appreciate everything that they're doing.
So do we. Thank you.
No, that's very well, that as well. Yeah. Few numbers of people doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
And we've had tremendous increases in the demand for and need for services. And that's an issue I think we're gonna have to wrestle with even more. As we get closer to budget season for next year. Okay, anything else in public works?
Not public work.
Okay, move to rec.
You have the summer camp numbers right here. So you're getting electronic copies so you can read it later. But, so I use my young eyes.
Yeah.
So we are down when compared to last year. On the first 2 weeks of camp slightly. But we are still running ahead of our overall comparison. And when this is the first time with this form, we do a comparison to the 14-week average. So if you look on the sheet, we're 100, the first week, we were 121 camper days higher than the 14-year average. Okay, for that week. Yeah. And then the next week, second week, we were 96.
Sorry, each of these boxes here.
No, it's a week. Each one of these is a week,
From
and each
year.
line is a week.
From
Each
2009.
line is,
Oh, I see. Yes,
Yeah.
I get it.
okay, and so
Bring my glasses.
last year, and then that's, so last year, the first week of camp, the red is a 300 plus camper day week.
We don't have color.
Yeah.
You don't have, your electronic copy here.
Right.
Okay. But this, so we are down, first week of camp, we had 257 camper days, right? So the number of campers times the
Yeah.
days they go. Last year that was 3 weeks, so we're down about 40. Okay, and that number is over here in the product. So you can look through this and this box is the running total for the year. Comparing each program, right?
Yeah.
Wins, SOAR,
Yeah.
costs, and the total number of camper days for the year. So the target number that we're looking at to equate to last year is 2,276.
Campus 6.
Yeah.
I understand.
So peak is the one we're waiting behind them.
Yes,
What age? The young
no, those are the,
So it's an order of age.
yes.
Okay.
That was- So, we are tracking that, and I'll have I'll have Brooke ready to talk to you about why that's happening at the next board meeting. She is.
Congratulations to Brett, on the parade and the
Yeah,
fireworks out.
had a very good Fourth of July time. There will be a number at the next meeting, that will ask you to vote to take the money that we did through the fundraiser and then move it along to the Senzo Camp Fund. So we'll have that number at the next meeting.
For those of us.
So those of us that.
No.
And the movies, we have to do movies inside. Oh, I do want to say the last, not Monday night, but the Monday night before last was the largest ice cream social. we have
I'm gonna
ever
say,
had.
I
We sold out.
So
every bit of ice cream.
besides say the hours of that, you drive by and
Well,
say,
it kind of,
Yeah, it does.
it varies, so, and I think it's got a little.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A
I think it's
little
6 to 8.
note of it
Yeah, yeah.
on there. I think at the very bottom, that's, yeah. But people are, when it's raining, whatever, people are looking for things to do, and yeah, we sold out of every bit of ice cream.
Kilo was charging $7 now.
20, I think.
Right.
Yeah, so those are going well, and obviously there's a lot more indoor use. Laser tag is a big deal.
Right.
A lot of the indoor stuff, work from the rest.
Okay, yeah, I mean, with
Anything
the
else?
school out of session, there's obviously more opportunities. to
Yeah.
Use the indoor. Facilities.
I think with everything else,
Anything else?
that's all we have.
All right, let us then move on to calendar review. So tomorrow morning, the planning board has this regular monthly meeting at 8 AM here in the downstairs meeting room. And our next regular select board meeting is on 26th July here at 3 PM. And I don't think there's any public hearing or anything else associated with that. This one.
remind me.
Remind me.
So we then move to the new schedule. I think that the select board meeting will be a week later. Because we're moving to the, first and third
First and third Thursday.
Thursday, so we'll meet on the 26th of July, and the next select board meeting will be Thursday, the 3rd of August at 5 PM, right? Is that when we're doing 5 PM, or is? But we're gonna do one at 5 and one at 3.
The second one at 3 or the first, which one do you have any preference?
I'm thinking the second only because at the 5 o'clock, we were thinking, just for the transition, we were thinking of not having a full complement of department heads. So if there was something
Yep.
in particular,
So
so,
the first meeting each month will be at 5 PM.
yeah, let's just,
And the
unless-
second will be at 3.
Does that make sense? I mean, for the department heads who are here, does that make sense, or is it better? the
Yeah.
other way?
doesn't matter.
So what's the date of the first meeting?
August 3rd at 5 PM.
Yep.
And then the next one will be on the 17th. But that one will be a 3 week. And that'll be the rotation. First and third. 5 and 3. Was it worth saving it? Just asking. You just seem that broken up about it. I see Craig was doing some work, putting down some new sod, so, yeah. Okay, so shall we move on to new business then? We've had our vote. Final vote, guess we have something to sign once we get all together.
Well, it'll be the
The closing, right? Yeah, I think we actually have a, do we have a date?
We do.
You mentioned it,
26th
August.
of August.
Yep.
They need to be. No.
No.
6th of July.
Of July, excuse me, right. Yes, I have it at, one, I have it at 1 p.m. on the 26th, with the closing.
1 p.m.
1 p.m. on the 26th for the closing.
I will find out whether the documents. So what I would ask is that. If you're okay with it, that you vote to have Rich sign on behalf of the board. If it does take all three of you, I will let you know prior.
Why don't we just do it for like the meeting?
Well, this is, well, because I don't think it's happening here. Because the closing company is gonna, we're probably gonna be at their office. But I'll make sure that all three of you not have to sign the paperwork. And if you do, then we'll figure something else.
Well, I'm free at 1 o'clock, so I can get away with this.
If we could just have a vote on the record that you two are okay with them.
I move that we authorize Rich to sign on the board.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. So the use of PA form 28 in 2024.
Wendy, you've not been through this, and I tried to give you a little bit of background, but a PA 21 is kind of an archaic form. It is actually an inventory that some towns, very, very few towns, or maybe a handful of towns throughout the state still use, but it used to be widespread, especially when there were a lot of farms, a lot of agricultural property. Right, and so it's an inventory sheet that you mail to every taxpayer. And they have to fill it out and return it to the town.
So we never get that.
And then you worry about fines and,
Yeah.
if there's no need for it, we review properties every year, the assessors have very detailed records. We don't have this agricultural real property that you have to worry about anymore. So our town, this town has never used it. And I would recommend that we continue to not use it. But this form comes up every year to use it.
We have to vote on not
And you have to vote and not use
use.
it. And you're voting for 2024. And not use it in 2025.
To use another form.
No,
Another method.
no, for another, method,
Another.
which is our current assessing
Assessing.
process.
And that, so they don't require, I assume they require a certain assessment process.
Yes, and we are regularly inspected. In fact, when Steve 2 or 3 weeks ago, we just had an inspection by the state of our assessing process, and we're okay. And the assessors come in and take the building permits that we get from the code enforcement office, and we have them go through all the building permits every year. Right after April 1st, so sometime in May. And then put that new value into each property that had a building permit for the year if necessary.
You have to opt out of this.
Yeah, it was. It's like, it's probably one of those RSAs from the 1800s.
No, it's fine.
Nobody's bothered to say this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that's
in charge.
Any further discussion? If not, I would make a motion to not use PA form 28 in 2024. And use our assessing process method in lieu.
Second.
Okay? Aye.
Even though we didn't need to sign that, you do, but I'll give it to you.
All right, I see now, maybe why we have
Yeah,
enough people here. Public restroom request at the north end of the town. Rose, do you have the email? I know it's not packet here, but
packet.
Did
and-
you want to just describe,
Sure, if Tom had called me and asked if, the board, would, include a warrant article on the 2024 town meeting warrant. And I asked him to send you an email, making that request formally, and this is not a, if you don't want to, not a decision you have to make today. And, but it is a request that the Board of Selectmen discuss the need for public restrooms in the north end and write a warrant article to be presented to the voters for a town meeting in 2024. He said in his email, since the 1960s, there have been public restrooms for tennis players, bikers, hikers, walkers, and anyone who recreated in the north end. VBTS bought the building which housed restrooms in 1995. And now that the Waterville Valley Academy is an accredited school, and they're in session much more than they were in the past, the restrooms have been closed to the public for safety.
And this is something we've been talking. about.
right, it's a continuation. Yeah, right.
And it's just. Both the resort and the tennis have gone ahead and brought in porta potties. to
Right.
try to address, and I think competition is done a great one.
Okay.
Yeah, porta potties.
So the building was sold, according to them, 28 years ago. That's just like, that's a long time ago.
But I think it's since COVID that
Well,
they've had to really take it down.
Well, and even pre-COVID, but since the accreditation of the academy, that's when, the academy was allowing the use of that building. Then they built the new, the room in there. They started to expand their programs. Then they became accredited, and all of these things have added up over that 28-year period. And now we're at the point where.
Well, we've been
Has been
discussing
cut
this for
off.
like 2 years.
This is the
Second
third,
year,
third
third,
summer
third summer. right?
that there has been locked, basically locked doors and no access
Right.
to bathrooms at the. And it's, again, they're playing by a different set of rules than they have been. in the past. So,
Well, I see this as a continuation of our discussion on this issue. I don't think we need to come to a decision at this point.
I noticed it's got the mountain has a porta potty next to there.
Yes,
So,
so they inform us that they,
Which they locked when the death is not. in
so
service.
do they have an interest in this proposal? Or-
We've spoken about it at town floor, and it seems that there was some reluctance for any sort of financial contribution, but that's not necessarily a final word.
I think we've been down this discussion a number of times. I think there was no hurry in putting together a warrant at this point.
no, he wanted.
He wants to
didn't want
engage
to
the-
get to last-
Right, engage in discussion.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
Has, just a point of putting it out there, has there been any thought as to if this should come to fruition, where would it be built?
And again, at town floor, where I think we had most of the discussions about this for anyone, it would be the thought on the lot where the library is, not necessarily connected to the library building, but somewhere on that lot to be easy to tie into the
The
septic.
septic,
Yeah, and
And
that
it would
lot
be
is like
visible.
1 point something. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
town owned. It's a little.
well, and it's not, I mean, I just don't want people to get the wrong impression.
No,
It's
no.
not a septic. It would attach to the
sewage.
sewer
Yes.
line.
Yes.
It is right there.
Yes.
I just don't
Yeah,
want people to get the wrong
sewer
impression.
line, yeah.
So the septic line is right there on Overpath
Yeah.
Road, so,
And it would be a visible.
and water is as well.
So we had
Makes
discussed
sense.
this in the past, is you quickly run into a question, not only of the location, but the cost of the construction, and then more
Yeah.
importantly, I think the operation and maintenance of it over the years. So that's really been a tough discussion in trying to square any of those circles, if I can speak in illusions here at this point.
I did have a little chat with Tom yesterday about it, and said that there could be potential to work out some sort of maintenance agreement with their business entity. You know, so perhaps there's a way to get all the stakeholders to the table and
That was gonna be my recommendation, was that, we push this off to the side as a separate little discussion group or working group to see if there's, get all the stakeholders involved, see if there's really any support, I mean, other than the town taking on the burden.
Well, you know,
That's
it's
right.
the one, this issue, or,
Well, that's,
you know, discussion, tennis issue, or is it bigger issue than that?
I think the difficulty is nailing down exactly to review it, and it's perhaps one visit and something that's significant to, but I know, just walking with people, sometimes it's difficult to get around this 1 mile, because I don't know what rate it's to know at least rate. And also the neighbor, we know there's an issue with, with restrooms and trash that add on them things to really, but, and that's not necessarily a state business entity, it's people in general.
And that has always been the, I think, part of the issue. It's been the use by the general public, hikers or walkers. And the current arrangement, doesn't address that. Part of and we decided that we were gonna keep it that way, this year, but as Tom is asking us to reopen that discussion and, potentially put a warrant article for, but that the select board put a warrant article forward. Now, he or anyone else can put a warrant article forward, although, I think it would be better for the select board at least to look at it and come up with its own language if it wanted to put a warrant article forward and then see if the town wanted to pay for something. So
Another issue, I think, is the potential for veterans near the beach. And is that a higher priority?
I would say yes.
Is that a higher priority than this?
Yeah, no, that's the first thing I thought of, frankly, is that we're gonna spend money there, where's the higher priority? And that was the plan years ago. To build the restrooms, a pavilion, a changing area and restroom area. And the town purchased that lot of land up behind the beach.
So the realization of the difficulty with plumbing.
Well, that was really the overall cost. I think that sidetracked us too, right? And we ended up using part of that was to further develop the as you well know, the trail village, but also creating the Cochrane Loop, I think, what we
Not
no, not Cochrane, but what we're gonna call it, Levitt, right? So we had these brand designs. I forget how much the town approved to follow through and as much as we could, but we found out there wasn't anything near enough. I think we got village trail, and we had some money for the signs, basically. That's and then that was it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, the 800-pound gorilla COVID hit roughly that time, but that was always part of the plan that had been advanced by the top floor working group is create Levitt Loop, create a pavilion, and changing area, restroom area by the beach, and also to sign and connect our in-town trails so they better connect to the Forest Service trails, and this was also part of the reason I think why we bumped up a little bit on the rec department side as part of the trail program. So
We know now that COVID's pretty much over, whether Tom's approached DBTS about using those bathrooms again that they used to use before.
I think it's more of a security issue.
I was gonna say,
He's been jumping up and
I don't
down.
know, I just know that they've called me directly because people are people, let's be honest, they go into the dorm rooms, the kids are sleeping and staying, use bathrooms, they just walk right in there. So they've directly called me and say, people just will go, they're not from here, our residents obviously aren't doing that, but people are that into town. Whether they're using Stone Mountain tennis, hiking, I don't know what they're doing, but they've called directly and said, hey, this is the issue we're dealing with. It's like, okay, well, call us when it's happening and we'll escort people off the property, but They're going to the dorm room, just trying to look at the
They
bathroom,
don't,
walk right
they
in.
don't realize
Yeah,
what it is.
They have no
and
clue what
think
it
It's a business.
Yeah.
And they
yep, that's
We're about-
looking back,
so.
but I mean, that's anecdotally, that's another part of this issue.
So that's what brought us before, I think,
Yeah.
previous, meetings, yeah. That we gotta do something about this and the traffic with the other. And so that's where we went with the porta potties, and now we're at, the town isn't putting porta potties there, but the two businesses that operate in the area have porta potties there. The one is locked when their business is not operating. I don't know about the tennis center. It's unlocked 24/7.
Quite a ways, I mean, the group that. You know, it's called American Tennis, whatever it is, it comes on weekends, for a bunch of people. They're usually down around 4, 8, 9, 10, you know, the end. Road. And to get from there to the libraries. Quite a ways.
Well, if it's tennis players.
Yeah, well, but these are some of these same people who will not park
This is true too.
in the BBTS parking lot, and they park illegally on the road rather than walking that extra. So, as Chief said, people are people.
Yeah.
Again, we could re-engage on this unless you want to completely say, no, we don't want to go down this path of exploring a warrant article. We can engage, get a group together. I don't know if we want to do it as a select board or have the town board working with, flesh out some details there, but like, if we were to pursue this road, what would the town be able to provide, for example, the land?
Right.
And then what would the businesses in the area provide, like the financial support to either construct it or to maintain it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it, from the town's perspective, it has to do with fights and the.
Right.
Which is, I think the town board working group should start.
Yeah.
Start the discussion, and then,
Yeah, well, I mean, and we have started, so we could just try to, get the right people at the meeting.
Right. So that's
I see Reggie here, so I think we ought to, given everything that has been talked about over the last couple of years from the historical society
Right.
standpoint as well, I think it's important that they're into this.
The other thing is, you
Yeah.
know, for a warrant item, you need a monetary value.
Yeah,
right. That's why I mean, you have a group look at it and come up with some of the details. And the point you made too, Bob, I think is important. If we're gonna spend money out there, what about the greater need for bathroom facilities by Portland Pond? I think that has to be addressed as well.
and I actually think that it's good that we have our little code shed issue, because that is going to give people an idea of what a new pavilion slash bathroom.
It'll be in that area.
It'll be in the same
Yeah.
exact spot as we initially put motion, so I actually think we are taking a step and people have some input and changes, so.
I just don't think, you know, his memo was enough for us to move forward on it, if we just table it past the board.
Okay.
Well, I was gonna ask.
So the town club, we can group meet next August 8th. So make sure it's,
I'd be curious if there's something, kind of for a group, thinks about priorities.
Yeah, I think that's where this discussion belongs. And when you being on both boards, with the group and the select board, they keep the select board informed of what they're, what if anything is coming up with. And as we get further down the year, get close to warrant time, we can
yeah,
determine.
yeah, I think if we get closer, we'll probably be more direct, you know, smaller groups, so
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, all the time for working group
Or
or
select board.
Yes,
And just. some
I agree.
stakeholders. Yeah, something out.
right,
Maybe we can have a consensus.
I'm good with that. You okay with that? Okay.
Anybody else have any comment?
they're just locals, know, there are 750,000 acres of facilities available. Yeah. People are people.
We wonder why the rain brings clouds to the front.
No, that is definitely not. Okay, so on that note, so the next topic is the wastewater treatment facility engineering RFQ results, which were not great.
Yeah, there were no packets submitted, in accordance with our request for qualifications. We then had some interaction with, a couple of the engineering firms. One of them said, we're interested in the project, and we can't do anything or contemplate doing anything for at least another year. And then the second engineering firm said, we didn't have enough time to complete a packet. We're going to give us 3 weeks, we need like 4 weeks. And they did call back after 2 o'clock today, it's cut off. They said they're still interested, but they would need a minimum of 4 weeks to prepare it. We are, our approach right now is, well, okay, so a couple of things. First of all, we're going to call the state. We have a call in the state, we're waiting for the call back. We are going to talk to the DES staff about what they're seeing in other communities. Anecdotally, every town is having trouble finding engineering services, or they're paying through the nose for it. But we'll find out what DES has to say. I did draft up, and we have at your places a draft of a reposting that we will review with DES.
I thought the data that was too soon, what they said before.
Well, and we're gonna talk about the date, because the issue with the date and making it too far out, months out, is I don't want the EPA and the DES to say that we're not moving and trying to keep the project moving. That became an issue with the dam project. We got into some pretty heated discussions with DES about, you need to do this, and we said, yes, we're trying, and they said, you're not trying hard enough. And so I want to make sure with DES that if we do extend this, let's say that we give them 2 months to get a, or whatever, 6 months, whatever. Then we can go, I want DES to say, that makes sense. If this is what they're doing, then go ahead, and then have DES come with us to the EPA and let them know that we're trying.
Right.
I do not want to request any extension from the EPA until we have an engineering firm on this, so that we can get input from the engineer that whatever, because we're only going to have one, I feel we're only have one track at getting an extension. So we need the input from the engineer so that we don't ask for too short. And then provide us with their schedule of work. But, you know, basically right now, and we have behind or in front of the reposting, this was the letter that we received from the company that can't even talk to us for a year. And, you know, if we find, because Steve's gonna make some phone calls, Bill's gonna make some phone calls, starting tomorrow to the 10 or 9 other firms that we sent the RFQ notice and find out why they didn't. And then we'll talk to DES. Did I miss anything?
No, I just wanted to mention that it seems that the 3 of us, meaning Mark, Steve and myself, that what we have seen per an RFQ, what goes out to engineering firms and what they're expecting now. They're not the same thing. So what typically has been procedural, really, and that's the best way to phrase it, has been strictly what we put out originally. And that has been the criteria that has been good to go for decades.
Cookie cutter.
Yes. Now it seems like, if Mark put it into the,
Let's do,
yes,
so we.
what it seems like engineering firms want now is a site visit prior to even giving us a qualifications package to ensure that A, they're interested, they know everything that's gonna go into this before they even put their name into the hat. They have the resources to handle it, so on and so forth, because keep in mind, this isn't just designing and building a new facility, it's also keeping our current facility going in the meantime. So it's really a two-part project. And it's, so,
Mark summed it up today to us and made a comment that a lot of, some of the engineering firms' marketing divisions are starting to dissolve because of this, such an influx of work right now. So the people who are generally looking for these RFQs aren't in position any longer. And now we have to make a little more of a concerted effort to say, hey, we have a big project going on. Are you interested? So
40 million is a big project.
yeah,
absolutely.
and to that
Well,
point,
if we call the other firms, we should make sure that they also like the one that wants 4 weeks before they put the RFP, maybe some others, if they have a little bit more time.
so Bob, what I was, to that point. One of the things that Mark added in there was that we're going to have a day where firms can come out, look at the facility, and that's the intent of us calling, is to allow them to say, if you are interested in this. Here's the time frame where you can come out where it's not under the RFQ process, because that adds a whole other set of parameters that they have to meet under state law when we're in the RFQ process.
That is another question to DES, because there are actual regulations
About how
that
you do the
we
bidding.
have to follow for the bidding to stay qualified for the clean water SRS.
Right.
And I don't want anybody to think that is any conversation offline.
Right.
Ex parte communication with anybody that they got a benefit on their bid. That's why I put it in this document. And the
Right.
engineering firms are just gonna have to live with it.
Yep.
That, okay, we're going to open this up and you can come look. We'll take you through the plan.
Yep.
We'll give you a presentation, all of this. It's going to be done to everyone
Right.
in the same way. And there's also language in the new brief post that we have a cutoff date for an amendment. So we will take comments, we will take questions, and then we will post a formal amendment to this RFQ notice that keeps everybody on the same playing field, so that they all have the same information.
This implies that multiple firms could come at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And they.
That's not common.
Yeah. It's how we do pre-bid conferences and.
It's the same thing as with contractors, yeah,
Contractors come in and they look at paving project or a building project, they all come in at the same time. And you actually want that from a public standpoint, because then everybody's hearing the same case. And, but we can't mandate, so we don't want to limit the packages. So we make it a non-mandatory pre-submission conference. And it's up to them, and if they don't come, they may not hear it, and then they are at a disadvantage from there. Submitting their proposals.
we just want to make sure that whatever their hang up is,
Yeah,
we can't afford to not have a
Oh,
qualified
yeah,
firm
I
come in,
mean-
so we're just trying to make sure we take the proper steps.
3 weeks is not enough. We need 4. Okay, that's an
Right,
easy fix, especially if they call back, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
If DS says that they'll go to the EPA for us, and we can take another 2 months and we can let it sit out there and
Yeah.
let them do their thing, we don't necessarily care. As long as DS is gonna support us
Right.
with our permit, because we're still under the same permit. requirement to get this $1,000 off on October 26th, and so.
And that's mentioned in right here.
And it is mentioned, right, it scared away this particular firm because they know, they feel that they can't get it completed by the current date on our firm. So they said, no, we don't want to.
That's a pretty big firm, right?
No,
They're-
they're the smallest of the ones that.
They were the smallest.
They are good size,
They're good size.
but they're still the smallest out of all the ones we sent them to. They're, yeah,
I don't know significantly.
I mean, their wastewater and water is their primary, like,
Very important.
So there's no way to buy in the RFQ that the final completion date.
Well, I did say in the repost that we would be working with EPS on the permit parameters. Well, we can't promise anything
No,
because we
yeah.
don't know if we're gonna get an extension.
So are we dealing with a pool of about 9 or 10 different engineering firms that we're hoping, 11?
We put out 11.
what we did.
And actually, it's a list of 30 or so firms that we called down to the 11 largest at the recommendation of CES. Because the smaller firms can't do this work, so we only sent it to the 11 firms that we feel actually can do it.
And have any of them shown interest in taking on the job?
No, zero,
None.
zero.
But for the reasons we were.
But for the reasons we
You're
just talked
talking
about.
about extending.
I mean,
Extending
the,
process.
you know, we were on a timeline that had us in final design right now. And we would be constructing,
Next
putting
summer,
out a bid next summer.
Yeah.
Over the winter for next summer. And starting the construction next summer, so. That obviously is not going to happen. Barring miracles. You know, divine intervention, it's happening. So,
Well, I mean, it all makes sense to me about
you know,
Reposting,
anything that you
extending,
experience,
getting TES on our side.
anything that in your experience you're not thinking about.
No, I just make sure that we give them enough time. You know, the timeframe for the visit, I think you have in Friday next week.
Mhm.
I'm afraid that might be too tight. But just make sure that we give as much leeway as we can to something. So you gotta.
We had to.
Their approval basically. Impact on current operations.
Well, that is a concern that we have, because the longer we have to operate the plant, the more money we're going to put into it. And that's a big downside of what we're doing.
Took away.
however, it's still,
It's still.
at the end of the day, it's what the town, it's in the town's best interest to go down this path.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. It would be extremely difficult in this day and age.
Right.
All right, need anything else?
No, if you, where we can.
An agreement then to move forward with the reissue and
Mhm.
talking to DES and maybe showing a bit more flexibility on some of the dates and Bob mentioned.
There isn't any flexibility on the DES's side for going outside of their pre-qualified list. That's,
I mean, we can, but then we give up our.
Money.
yeah, and
Keep in mind, Wendy, as well, that like 5 of the firms that are on that roster that we submitted to are global firms, not just located in New England. Their global headquarters is located in the USA somewhere, and they have satellite offices all over.
like that.
Yeah,
25 plus different countries I've seen.
May not be a big deal.
It's true.
In small town. All right. Okay, next topic, readoption of the town fund balance policy. Okay, so we
So
do
this
this every
is,
year.
yeah, this is the policy that we are using at all times. I'll give you, Wendy, I did call and ask me some questions, so just in full disclosure for both Rich.
Mhm.
This, if you remember, this is a page from the 535 that we looked at the last meeting. So if you look at the bottom of this page right here, is the breakdown of all different fund balances. Okay, that are described, and this was a question that when we had this, the actual description of the different pieces of fund balance.
Fund balance.
And so these are the numbers that we currently have. I'd just like to point out, one thing, so the starting balance, the 941, 998 was a starting from last year. And so that was
About a sign.
December 31, 21. number.
Oh, it is on there.
And even though it says 540,000 here. For the funding balance, which would be 12/31/23. There is a huge number up here, which you'll notice was zero. Under the non-spendable fund balance.
Right.
We paid several very large bills. From 2023. I believe we paid the bills December 29th or December 30th. December 30th. Okay. Where we actually cut the check.
Last year, 22, right.
And so if you look at the definition of non-spendable fund balance, it is prepaid items is one of the things that's in there. So although from an accounting standpoint, for the government accounting standards board, our undesignated fund balance was very low. On January 1 of this year, 23, all of these numbers were in the budget that was approved by community. So on January 1, they went away. And this amount came back down to 5 floors in reality. Okay, because we raised money in March that we had already paid bills. Okay. So
So
the
we need that.
accountant is looking at it as a prepaid. That's why it's up here. If we had not cut those checks, if we had sent them on January 2nd instead of December 30th, this number here, an unassigned,
Mhm.
would have included the 346,000.
Right.
So it's a paperwork. From
Yeah,
the
yeah.
accountants.
Moving around date, I mean.
And it isn't like we use fund balance to pay those bills. We budgeted for those amounts. Okay, so but that shows you the different components of the fund balance. And so we are following, we accounting wise are following exactly what's in this policy. This is a boilerplate policy from New Hampshire Municipal Association with our name inserted in it. We've had this policy since 2010, which I think we had to do as part of the USDA 2011, which we had to do as part of the USDA one program. We got to recall it, the gas requirements.
So what percentage are we at now? For the balance?
We're back, what were we, 12% the end of last year, so we're about 11%, 11.5%.
So that's right in the middle.
That's right in the middle of the recommended, yeah. And again, that's why we do that sheet every year on fund balance use, so that we're reporting to you. Because budgetarily, we take a piece of the undesignated, unassigned fund balance and use it to fund things like I was talking to you, leases, and things like that.
So you need us to vote and sign on.
Yes,
once again,
on this.
every year,
Yeah.
the form.
Yeah.
We're basically continuing what we have been doing in regard to.
So if we're gonna look at the same form a year from now. We'll see here in the ending balance would be the start, be the same.
Correct. So next year, the starting balance for the 2024 535 will be 540,950. And again, the 346,804 on prepays will go back to zero. Right, because we're not gonna write a check until.
We won't be, yeah,
There will
as
be no
proactive,
prepays.
right?
We've made sure of that,
Yeah.
so. You know, we'll be, when I report to you during budget season on the starting balance of the fund balance. I'm gonna put 540, but I'm gonna put an asterisk, and we're gonna have this 346 number down below,
Right.
and I'll give you a total. That was a quote unquote real. So. From accounts.
Someone like to make a motion that we continue? Or I can do it. I'd like to move that we continue with our current fund balance policy. I'd like it. In favor? All right, something else for us to sign?
Sorry, we haven't. Technical talk with the time for info. Oh.
I paid a bill too soon.
All right, so we move on to the water project update. There is a generator here, right?
No,
No, that's not
so
here.
I
I
actually,
know, that's why I asked.
just a moment ago, heard from Brian Grease. The last update I think I had mentioned to Mark was 7:15, 7:14 for a ship date. This is from Craft Power that they're going to be pushing it out of production tomorrow into getting the enclosure installed, and he's waiting to get a ship date from them. This whole thing has just gotten ridiculous with generators as a whole. It's not making any excuse for the contractor at all, but apparently there's a shortage of sheet metal to make the enclosures for the generators. That's not just impacting ours, obviously, it's as a whole. Aside from that, the communications contractor or subcontractor, they're having issues with their installation. So that was supposed to be completed as of Friday, go through the integration. Our integration tech's awesome, but the installer made some installation flaws. So they have to come back and sort those out before our integration come in and make everything work properly together. So, but other than those two issues, we're pretty close to being complete. So,
I think we've been there for.
yeah,
some time. I mean, the generator has always been, it's a redundancy issue, so it's.
Right. To be fair, the well 2 has been in operation for a while now, and that's been great because it takes the load off of well 4.
Right.
So
But we need to fix the communications.
to get well 3 on.
We got L3 back up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, talk to Dylan about this. I would like to put a little bit of pressure on the contractor and the engineer. If you're all right, if you vote to set a hard deadline at the end of this month, that we're gonna go back to the contract. Because we do have provisions for meeting substantial completion. If we can do, July 28th is a Friday. Or July 31st, either one of those dates as a hard deadline. So that we can send notice to the contractor and the engineer. And we can exempt the generator.
I'm gonna say,
But there is other work with communication and electricity, but we are not doing any work with the subcontractors. And if the board's okay with saying, we will write them a letter that says you have until July 31st.
Where's the penalty?
There's a penalty in the contract.
It's significant.
It's significant. It's like $1,200 a day or something that we can penalize them. I just, I don't know how else to get the attention
Focus their
and
minds.
focus their
Okay.
minds and activity here.
Yeah, maybe the 28th to the
The
30th.
28th is reasonable. If you're okay with that?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
we'll
fine with me.
prepare a letter tomorrow and I'll copy you and
Yeah, hard vote from us or is that just?
yeah, just to be in the record that you want it done by the 20th.
So I'll move to set a hard date of 28 July 2023 for a substantial completion of substantial completion of the water project.
Exempting the general.
Contract exempting the generator. In favor?
Thank you.
I mean, if we had to have something delayed, the generator.
Yeah, right.
No.
We just want, well,
We
we
haven't
want to
had
get
one
well,
ever.
we want to get well free back.
Well, 3 is the key, right? The key point.
And it's also the most painful point between the contractor and the subs and the engineers.
The communication,
Yeah, the communications and the electricity.
electricity. Okay. Transfer station update.
Well, the road project,
Oh, we didn't, I'm
we-
sorry. I thought
we have-
already. Got something more?
talk about John's, well,
Oh, sure.
yeah, so just want to, while we're there. Peter. We finally got the numbers, I think I.
Oh, you're talking about snows.
Snow's not.
Not, okay, I was reading
So
that.
finally, today,
I
this
see.
morning, I. See, this morning, we got a quote from them on several pieces of paper that we would ask them. So
This
if
is
you
Piper.
recall, this is Piper.
Yep.
We had originally asked them to just go in and do an overlay, right?
Correct. Correct.
And they said that it was a lot because of the holes and everything else in the road. So we asked them to go back and get us a number for reclaiming and roofing
That's a Snows Mountain Road.
on Snow's Mountain.
Right. The contractor they use, which is Continental, was very reputable. Came and looked at it and they would not agree to just put an overlay on what's there now because it's in such bad shape. They said, they have to protect their reputation and they were pretty sure just an overlay would not last very long and they didn't want to be held responsible for something that would fail pretty quickly. So they said, but they would consider reclaiming what's there now, which is grinding it up, putting it right back down, smoothing it, getting the drainage crown basically, and then putting a 2-inch overlay on that, which would probably give it a pretty good lifetime. At least through getting the plant up and running in whatever number of years that is from now, so that we can then look at the potential sewer lines and water lines up there project and replacing and adding those. So that's what that number is. That number is significant, obviously, but if you're paying any attention to asphalt costs and fuel costs for trucking, I mean, it's all included in that number. I believe that is a very reasonable number. Piper is a very reputable company and as is Continental, who they use. I don't think they're trying to, squeeze money, take advantage of the town at all. I think that's a very fair number.
We were looking at like 90-something thousand. right? 93.
For just an overlay, but remember that is John Bostic. Estimate,
Right.
he has not gotten his paving company to look at it.
Right. So it's
And
not
that was
just.
based on his tonnage price and the amount of square footage up there that needs to be covered. And we are talking about, does this include, does it road or is it just Snows Brook?
I think it's just
Just-
Snows Mountains, just Snows Mountain Road,
Snows Mountain.
just Snows Mountain.
Yeah, just Snows
The
Mountain
bottom,
Road.
not really show and not just.
Can I ask a question? Just because of the surge not being included in this, will some of the specifications for the road that it won't have to be dug up if and when the sewer lines go in, or what happens?
No, this is to get us to the sewer line going. So we would be looking at the plans being mostly done to complete.
Uh-huh,
And we need to get engineering done for both the sewer line and the water. So this is to get us to that point. Probably, if I had to guess, 4 or 5 years.
yeah,
3 to 5
We will be
years.
tearing it up.
And we would be tearing it up, but with this work, we would be able to reclaim and
use it again.
use it again.
Okay, thank you.
So the import export that Bill was talking about for Snow's Brook Road. If we did this work, there would not be that level of work when we're
Redoing
In
it.
4 to 5 years.
in 4 to 5 years.
Would we need to redo it? If we were not putting in a sewer line?
Well, if you don't redo it, then you're gonna have a trench in the pavement and you're gonna have 2 sections of pavement. I mean, you could do it that way.
Is the water line in the middle of the road right now, or?
The water line, as you're going up the hills on the left hand. On the left-hand side.
Under the pavement?
Yes, and so by the time we put in both the sewer line and the water line, we will probably, if we have to, there's no sewer line. in.
Right.
But because of the separation, they're gonna be 10 feet apart,
Minimum, yeah.
minimum of 10 feet apart, we will not be in the trench probably. So we would be disturbing the whole,
Don't,
10 feet.
the whole.
and not to jinx this going forward either, but don't forget that that line has multiple breaks on it already.
The water line. right.
So if we have a real bad year, and we have 2 water main breaks up there, that could be 2 10 or 15-foot patches that are cut out of that as well.
Of course, if we do this, then we could be.
Yeah, why,
Digging up what we just.
We would be.
Yeah, you would.
But again, and especially with the weather, the way that it's been, the road is deteriorating. So significantly.
And it's gonna deteriorate faster over the next few years.
all I was saying was that if we just left it that way, that you're gonna have areas that could be in pretty bad shape in a matter of a couple of years, depending on the winters that we.
Right, I understood.
Yeah.
I was asking if we spent $126,000 for this. Is there any reason to repave it in 4 or 5 years? If we're not dealing with water or.
I think we will discourage so much of it that we will be repaving. I don't think we want to just do patches.
Well, is Rich asking if you don't
No, no.
do water and sewer?
Right,
No, this
Oh,
is
no, no,
probably this is a 10 to 15 year.
that's what I was.
Fix.
getting at.
Yeah,
Right,
we don't put in water and sewer lines,
right,
then no, we would not have to repave this.
right. This would be like any other road we're doing now. in 10 years.
10 years. Yeah.
How deep is the water line?
Well, it depends on where on the road you are, but say up towards Jazinski, about 8 to 9 feet deep there.
8 to 9 feet?
Yeah, the issue really is the frost coming through the side slope. So if you think about how Snow's Mountain goes up, those houses that are after your house, Rich, going up the hill right before the bend.
Yeah.
There's a side slope that comes down that's pretty steep with the frost climbs in through there, gets underneath the water main and pushes up rocks, so on and so forth. And as that frost keeps pushing rocks up, it causes it to crack and break. So
That's what's been, I mean,
um,
probably.
there must be
6
20 breaks
to-
up there.
Well, there's 20 overall,
Yeah.
but probably 6 or 8 in the last 10 years. It's been almost every year.
Yeah. Yeah, we got lucky last year, we didn't have one, but the year prior, we had one in the spring, March.
But this is the only solution that they would be satisfied with going forward. with.
Yes.
There's no others.
Mhm.
Do this or do nothing.
Well, so. You want to talk to them,
Uh,
as far as other options?
we could reach out to other companies who aren't as worried about their reputation, so to speak.
Okay.
And throw an overlay on for $90-ish thousand probably still,
But this one-
that is gonna fail in 2 or 3 or 4 years anyway. So,
At
mean,
least
there are-
40,000 is a more longer solution, and it's 35,000.
yes,
Right, well, it could be the solution if we do not replace the sewer line, but then we still have with the water line.
So
and if there are delays in getting, getting the plant done, hopefully not, but. And then getting the design for the new water and in addition of sewer up there. I mean, so this will give you years till you can get that done. And from a safety and access issue, at some point, that road's gonna be to the point, especially in winter or during storm events where there may be problems getting emergency equipment and maintaining it as well. It's gonna become almost unmaintainable pretty quickly.
And if we do not do the sewer line, if that's what the town meeting decision is, then we could consider doing the water line and having half of the road. That may be an option. I think if we do both lines, we would
It'd be full.
definitely
Right.
full road, but I think, you can work it out and.
Well, I think it's-
The town is.
Yeah,
okay
town
with it,
meeting,
it's done.
it's going to mean, okay, we're going to have to tear up
Yeah.
the full road for water and sewer.
Yeah, there's definitely an option of putting the new water and sewer in one half of the road. Putting a new base on that side and then just putting a skim coat on the whole thing, and now you've got a
Well, but I
perfectly
don't
good
know,
road.
but I don't know about both water and sewer on one side of the
Right.
road, given how narrow it is.
10 feet.
And given the 10 feet of separation. of the
Yeah.
But if we can, that would be the first option. But if we can't, then we will work on it. And if we're doing just the water,
Right.
then we definitely can look at something to those and save half of this.
Bill, did you get a sense if they had the bandwidth to crank that out this year?
That's
Yes,
his
I
intent.
believe
That's
this,
his
Yeah.
intent.
I believe this is in connection with this project.
Yes.
Right, they're here.
So they're here, and if-
Plowing. and so on.
so yes, Steve.
How much engineering is required to, if you're just doing the water line? You're replacing the water line.
I would say probably, given, we got a bid for 126,000 for the engineering, for the water. From,
You're talking for the current project.
for the current.
Yeah.
Project. So HED looked at this and said, if we put in a water. We would be looking probably around. 100. Because some of that was also conceptualized in the sewer.
Right.
So 80 to 100,000 probably in engineering.
Just an engineer.
Yeah.
Not counting going down 9 feet.
That's correct.
And replacing next to it,
Yeah,
because that's the other side of it.
yeah, we could, and that's the other thing is the existing line, we may just abandon. I don't know what they're
Yeah.
gonna recommend for us, but we might just abandon what's there. and go new.
Digging the trench.
Digging the trench.
Trench should put in.
I don't
I mean,
know.
how wide is the right of way? there? Possibly, to put the water line in the shoulder and the sewer line in the other shoulder.
It varies, it goes anywhere from 50 or 60 to down to like 40 in some spots. So it goes like this along the line.
The biggest issue that we have up there, Bob, is the turns,
Is what?
the
Yeah.
turns in the road. So the water main, it's not like it hugs one side of the road the whole way down, it crosses the road to try to minimize as sharp of bends. Instead of being 90s, they use multiple 22s or 45-degree bends to bring that angle down, because that's gonna be a weaker joint, if you will, frost, the sharper the angle is. So, I don't know, really, until we actually have someone look
Well,
at it.
I mean, that's the kind of thing that we can ask Horizons when they bring in their conception.
And that'll go into the cost of whether it's water or whether it's sewer.
Yeah.
It sounds like we have to do this, so the next question is, where does money come from?
Well, it would be from the appropriation that's made this year, the 750 that we're borrowing for this summer.
So let's talk about the other two before we vote it. First,
Yeah, the other two, we had the appropriation that was made at town meeting for
90.
90,000, which was for the parking lot here, and the bid that we got back was 131.
But the 90 included refurbishing this building.
Was some building as well.
Wasn't 50 for 5 months?
Yeah, I think that was the budget that we laid out, as an. So. Obviously, either way, we don't have enough money to do the work this year. We could. Because this includes Tack Lane all the way out to Triple I, right? And it comes up and it cuts off at the DPW garage parking lot, comes up the hill, and then goes around to the maintenance building, and then all the way to the back side of the public safety.
It fixes the drainage
And it
from the
fixes-
fire station out,
Right.
make sure
Because we're getting-
the water flows out.
So we could look at the numbers here, figure out the square footage with John. We can probably get this back down into the 80 or 90 range and not do anything building wise this year. And concentrate on the parking lot. Because again, we've got maintenance issues with just the rocks and the way
So
that-
if you look at the second item in the fire station section, full box. As we looked at the area around the back of the fire station, back to the woods. You can see where the frost action has pushed rocks up, all those bumps in the asphalt are rocks. So they suggested that we basically do what they're doing on Tecumseh Road is take out a foot or so of material and put in better material, so the pavement will have a better chance of survival. Instead of just putting an overlay on what we suspect are probably rocks that are gonna,
That's the 30,000.
that's the 30,000. So that could be taken out, with the risk of it impacting new pavement sooner than later. Because rocks in roads, what's happened with frost heave is frost pushes rocks up, but then they don't go back down. The fines fill in that gap and then the rock stays up, so rocks grow but don't shrink.
And all of this paving area is away from any. Construction.
Yes, this is all outside of what's gonna be impacted. And that goes down to this 46,000. I would not, I mean, at that amount of money, I think that that's probably too much, because that is clean water over there, and that is gonna be impacted by the construction. So we may wanna just throw an overlay on the as we get a chance. We'll do some minor repairs, maybe get the infrared company to look at some of the bad potholes and cut those out and clean those up and get them redone on a temporary basis. Because within the next couple of years, we're gonna be tearing on
On the fire station, what if we just did the upper area, not go down to TAC lane? And the ramp on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm proposing.
To go back to them and bring that number back to 80 or 90 by
Yeah,
doing that. Yeah.
That would bring the number, maybe hopefully back to the 80 or
Now
90.
we just spend that instead of the construction of the building, we have.
There's no building we have in this. right?
No, But what was, the warrant article was for both purposes, and we would just, I mean, given the fact that asphalt's increased in price.
I had
we
gotten
just
a
concentrate.
quote to redo the kitchen area over there a little bit, secure the cabinets to the wall, and then we were thinking of doing these windows too, but
They can really do it.
I got some beautiful shades and stuff.
I suggest we skip the third item here. We authorize 90,000 in the middle of the fire station. Try to trim it back to 90,000. That's proposed.
Just a thought with the transfer station moving down here, you are gonna have a lot more, potentially a lot more traffic coming in at least the first section of it.
We do have money that's not part of the 90,000, that's road repair money. So we can look at that balance number. And we could do this, just this entrance here, so make a horseshoe for the transfer station. And so do tackling and clean water just as they come in.
In and out.
In and out.
Right.
Yeah, for the transfer station, and take that out of the road repair, because those are those town roads. No, we don't know how much that would be, but we would, you know. It would be, there'd be no reclaim, we could minimize it, just take the pavement off the top. Fill in some gravels, take out rocks and things like that, and then just put a pavement down.
An overlay will give you
An overlay. will give
2, 3, 4 years.
So. And I think that would be minimal money. But those are the worst spots where all the potholes are, the entrance and exit. So that's a good point to try to get them. Because we're gonna be talking about that. We're gonna be down there for, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I agree with Bob. I'm thinking along the same lines. Go ahead with the Snows Mountain Road project / estimate, make the changes to the town office parking lot. And then we need to look at, not do the access road, but and all.
and the hill. So we'll
Right.
need this middle section.
Bit
here.
along, right.
Were you thinking that this middle one, the second would be capped at about 90,000?
Yeah, I think that's, it'll just be the one project, and not include any building repair, and then we'll just see what we can do with our road maintenance money to build that horseshoe.
Great.
Thank you. We will get to work.
So, speaking of the transfer station,
That transfer station. Too much fun, right? So I submitted the letter. That's in your packet.
Yeah.
Withdrawing our permit by notification so that we didn't have a denial on our record. So they were nice enough to give us that opportunity. I did not receive any call from Solid Waste Bureau prior to the meeting, so I'm still waiting for that. And if you remember, we're waiting to see what their discussion with wastewater is. As far as the construction plans so that we can put it out to bid. We still have contractors who are interested. Unless they're interested.
nothing on the environmental
Nothing on the environment.
report.
There's no one to reach out to about that?
We did. We called the person who is
Yeah.
supposed to do it, and he said, we're working on it July 15th.
I was just gonna
I
say, yeah.
think July 15th is the day that she said she would get it to us. So.
At this
hopefully
point,
by the-
right, yeah.
Well, if we get it to send to, if we can get it now, put it out to bid
We can
for
do that
2 or 3
Portion up
weeks,
front.
then we
Yeah.
can do the part that ties into Tecumseh Road,
Right.
but we're getting down to the point where they need to know to do that.
Right.
These, so.
Right.
So we have completed. So when DES was here going through the transfer station sites, they told us at that time that they were only going to require one permit notification application. You have to get this PDN installed, approved by the state to operate a transfer station. And so we're making big changes down here. We need a PDN. We were told that we were going to need one PDN for this temporary site down here, right, which is going into operation sometime this summer. And then when we built the new facility up above, we could use the same permit. We now changed that and we have to submit two. So this application is for this lower spot down here. We've gone through it with the engineer, sent it in, they're gonna look at it.
Along with 3 waivers.
Waiver requests and everything else that are required by the regulation. And we are expecting to be approved very quickly because they've been here and seen it. And so as soon as we get this phone call back about the discussion between the two offices, and as soon as we get the PDN approved, then we can start using this area down.
Viewing as closely as possible.
Staffing it, locking the gates,
Right.
closing it at night, and all of the other requirements.
But we're not gonna be able to meet all the requirements, right?
Well, you ask for waivers for anything we will not be able,
Right, so
so,
maybe one attendant instead of.
well.
A lot of the waivers were predicated upon us being under an administrative order by
Right,
consent.
that's still in effect, right?
And then we're hoping
December
that
date.
we'll get rid of the administrative order by getting this a licensed
Yeah.
facility. Yeah, one good thing that we found out in this process is there are primary operators, assistant operators. There's only a requirement for one. Okay, when you're open, which we thought that there has to be a primary assistant at all times. It ends up, if the attendant can see everything that is going on at the same time, then they are allowed to have one there at a time. You still have to have one there when it's open, and they have to be dedicated to the facility. We can see everything down here. So we can operate initially with the one person, looking at the timing, the schedule, in the operating plan. We make our current part-timer a full-timer. She would be able to cover a minimum of 3 days a week, that she currently does, and maintain the facility and do the assisting with public works at the same time. So that would get us through until we built the new facility in occupied. When we get up there, given the layout, you can't see the C and D can from where you are at the entrance, or if you're over by dumpsters, right? So at that point, we would need the additional step. So.
And from a safety
And
standpoint,
from a safety
we wouldn't want to
standpoint,
have
they're
just
gonna
one.
be- They're gonna be way spread out up there where they're not down. And she also, if she's down here, she has the guys who are in and out of the garage. And, you know, she's getting.
Yeah, public safety.
interaction constantly. With,
So we would meet all the requirements except the placard.
you know, we have to do some signage and.
Well, I'm talking about the.
Sticker.
The stickers,
Yeah.
the stickers on the vehicles, yes. So we need to talk about, still need to talk about how we're gonna do that.
Right.
So I don't know if you wanna do that now. Or if you wanna do a meeting and go over this PDN in detail in the office. operating plan stuff. So. Totally up to you.
Yeah, I think we want to, like we have a workshop like that, right? Just go over everything again.
Again, because it is kind of the change scenario.
From what we were discussing, I agree.
Maybe Steve should have a microphone in his office, we put down that way, and speaker down there.
And a camera and a big monitor in my office.
But our request for the PBM is still predicated, I mean. So they're still gonna want us to get something on the bike
Big
now. Now, being that, yeah, like now,
As soon as you can.
Right.
Please get this up and.
okay. Yeah, we can pick a date, to discuss this further, and only this topic further. Shall we do that now? Is there any need to wait? You think you're gonna hear back from VES on the PBM? Soon? Doesn't matter, I know that meeting, it doesn't matter when we have a meeting, that was my bottom line. Sorry about that. All right.
Can I suggest Monday or Tuesday?
Of next week. Monday will not be good for me. I can do Tuesday afternoon next week. Well, is there a particular time?
Anytime maybe 2:30.
All right. 2:30 or 3. I'm available for about 3 o'clock on the 18th.
Got it.
Workshop, I said that continued discussion.
Yep.
On the operation of the interim transfer, temporary interim transfer station. PPM. Yeah, we're gonna have to lower, I think, lower and upper.
They're both.
All right, anything further on the transfer station, the board or town staff?
Nothing is one else.
Okay, anything further on the wastewater project update? We haven't talked about it? I don't believe so. No, all right. Well, 3 and 4 wildlife matter update. Okay. So we got the letter in, we got the approval.
We
We
do
got till August 15th.
We have until August 15th, get the work done.
Get the work done, so.
Do not have any numbers to share with you on process yet. The contractors will not be here until next week. I believe Monday and Tuesday, one each day. We're gonna go up there and walk them through what the state has, or what the Forest Service has said.
The requirement.
Bill is working with the forest biologists and engineer and district rangers.
Give you a call, putting that down or something down.
No, it's just the cost.
At this point, it's the cost, right?
Well, it's the cost at this point. And whether or not we can get the work on their schedule that
It's on. Right.
by August 15th.
Well, I Cindy may be out there in a way.
No.
We have two contractors that have shown an interest that we're gonna take them up and look at it. They both have copies of the letter. So, they know.
Looking at a 1-day project, maybe day staging ahead of time and then day of actual work.
No, I think one day to do the first attempt, I'm predicting it's gonna take more than once. To
What do you mean for that they won't
So
be
we'll
rebuilt?
the lower one first and then.
try to dry things up so we can minimize the amount of matting needed. Get it firmed up a little bit so that we have more room to
I
work.
see.
And then depending upon how firm we can get it, and if it would stop raining for a day or two, we'll have a better chance of
I see,
being more
a phase-
success,
A phase project.
more
The
successful
latter is required
on the
because
second one.
They don't want big ruts, and so if we can get up there, take out the lower dam is smaller,
Mhm.
take that out, let the water run out.
Wait a few days.
Wait a few days, dry it out, hopefully it doesn't rain too much. Then you can go up to the bigger dam, get that tree out of there.
And then
and
do
reach
that.
You know, it's also cleaning the piece of equipment
Right.
before it goes in. It's gonna have to be inspected by the biologist. We were hoping they could inspect it, but they couldn't do it, so we'll have to coordinate.
All right. So it'll be a phase project over a few days. For this is really just the first attempt.
Yes, and
And we will.
we'll see how successful we are with the first attempt based upon whether they
Rebuild.
try to rebuild or how quickly they try to rebuild.
Okay, so we'll have some kind of cost estimate
Next week.
next week.
Hopefully next week.
So we don't want to wait till our next meeting without, we should really like close to an approval, right? So we want to,
Well, hopefully Monday or Tuesday. We can.
well, I was about, that's what I was getting at.
Oh, Tuesday.
Tuesday when we meet at 3, you may have an idea,
We may have both. Well, I don't know that we will.
but we can see. So we get the cost and then get an approval. If they're moving. Any comments from the public? And more comments from the board? We will move forward on this as discussed. Okay. Operants on bacteria update.
So we have, the ban was lifted last week. Sampling results from the 6th were, as the email said, 39 came out. We are good. The next test is Monday, the 17th.
Who says that?
The state. The state monitoring program for public peoples,
And who takes the samples?
the state.
State does.
Yeah.
I mean, do we know that the system we're taking, I mean, it just.
That's
seems
not
really-
all over the
seems really
Right.
weird.
That was, I think.
Goes up and down so much. I mean, I don't know if you take the surface water versus taking it down 18 inches.
No idea what they're testing with.
Don't you think it's weird that they?
I would tell you, I've said this to Mark. Keep in mind that the people that are taking these samples are probably summer interns for the states. So depending on what you get out of them. And consistency based off of that, it's,
Okay. Well,
we're at their mercy.
So
So
either way, we have to abide by.
we're still, we got.
It is a state program.
Summer
They
internship.
provide the information to us. We can do testing, but I don't know that that's really the road we want to go down.
We do our own testing.
We cannot change that recommendation, and those signs will still have to be put up. Regardless of what
What our test
we can
shows.
certainly call them and say to them,
I see.
um,
No, we can't do the test
we
for
can't
them.
do the tests for them. And if we came up with tests that were contradictory to them, then, you know, we would be going back and forth with fingerprinting. And I don't think it will get us.
But if we did do some testing ourselves, we wouldn't have to be to contradict that. It would be so that we know, and it's up to us to mediate any issue.
Sure.
And if we have our testing, we know that we have ABC results over a period of time, if it is different, I'm not saying it would be, but if it is different from the states, then we wouldn't waste their time trying to, that's why.
No, I mean, it'll give us a leg up, if you would, with idea. We feel better about our basis of our numbers. Try to decide where we want to go next.
Sure.
Spend money chasing.
Okay.
I don't know.
Right now, I mean, I think solid data are always better. And it's- But do we want to do it, or do we want to just, why don't we just wait, you think,
Let's see what the 17th is and see if we go back up again.
We never did any shooting. I was there with Wendy the first night.
no ducks,
You didn't see the ducks.
no ducks,
There were no ducks.
but then we got the good test.
But then we got the good test.
You know, I wonder whether the ducks are the same ducks that are in our lagoons. Yes, they are.
There you go, the transfer.
No wonder that they're bringing in bacteria that's in their feet.
It makes sense.
They're always
That's exactly. why-
They're always up there.
Yeah.
That's exactly why we have the recommendation.
So maybe we ought to be- If we start shooting again, maybe we ought to be shooting off.
Both locations.
At both places.
We're launching scare rounds.
Scare
We're
rounds,
not-
yeah.
No, I want to be, because I just don't.
Someone not
think-
listening in on the video and not
I
understanding
didn't
what
want
we're
them
talking
to-
about.
Because think that we're shooting. No, we're scaring them away, we're harassing. And we're making them
Them
fly away.
From laughing and congregating.
And because we don't want them in the pond, absolutely,
Netting.
because I'm sure that these ducks up here are going over there.
You could.
And
That way you
probably
don't worry.
might have been causing problems.
If they do it up here. then-
Go wash
Well,
your
we don't want
hands.
them up here. We want them-
Yes, they hear.
Right, we want them,
Summer intern.
so all ducks, welcome at, welcome at our lagoon.
See him flying back and forth.
We could,
This is a feeding station.
well, somebody recommended.
One thing,
Yeah.
the only thing I would say for this time of the year is that we have a huge explosion of ducklings this time of the year.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of ducks go up to the lagoons, they hatch their eggs and they raise their ducklings to the point where they can leave. So I mean. Just saying, if we do any scare rounds, we're gonna have a lot of ducklings that.
Don't have mom and dads.
Yeah, we don't want- so, We'll leave them up alone up here, that's where we want their. Moving their bodies.
You can see us in.
Are we still going out in the evenings to
Well,
protect?
we're watching it, but I've suspended anybody's in there because there hasn't been a single duck since last Thursday. So there.
What happened to the ducks?
And maybe-
They
They
got
don't-
the memo.
Yeah,
They
they.
don't see the police officer there tonight and they all come back in. We got very intelligent ducks. They're in trouble.
They're reading our meeting minutes.
They're watching the big
How often does the state test?
every week,
So once a week?
once a week.
Only if we're in compliance.
If we're in compliance once a week, then they go to two. That's
I think
what we
three,
saw,
right?
2 or 3
Yeah.
times a week. If we're not.
But it's a minimum once a week.
Well, they counted the good test on the 6th as this week's test.
Oh,
Yeah, because I asked the same question. Are you coming back on the 10th?
yeah.
The 6th is good for the 6th.
Could somebody from the town go out and actually watch them draw the sample, just so we had an idea as to how deep they go or
Well, we
after that?
It, out of ignorance, I say this, but it does make me wonder if there must be some sort of protocol that they have to follow. Because I would think, and I could be totally wrong on this, but,
State must be.
well, keep in mind that they probably have the sample at the entry point to the water. That's what my impression or understanding of it would be, because that's gonna be the first contact point where kids and stuff are gonna be more likely to be in that area. So I could be wrong, but
I mean, they're sampling at the beach, you're taking 2 samples at
the most shallow part of the beach, which
Right.
is
on
historically.
either end of it, sounds like, right?
Yeah, left and
But-
that's
right.
what we're assuming.
And we have no control over.
And we don't know, the
Wow.
problem is, we don't know when they're coming.
Right.
So it is
Okay.
not 9 AM on Monday morning.
That we thought they were in Vegas.
They may just
They're
show
probably
up,
making
they may
their
show
rounds.
up at 5 o'clock at night.
They're just making their rounds.
They're making their rounds
Right.
and
Ponds.
And then they have the
So-
state lab do the test.
and then
and
they
then-
have the state lab do the test. And that's why we don't, you know, that email informing us what the levels are. Sometimes it comes in the morning, sometimes
Comes at night.
it comes at night, and that's probably because.
24-hour
that's when the
test.
Sample got back to the lab and 24 hours from then. So again, it's kind of hit or miss. I wish we knew, I wish there was a set time, but because then we could go out, we could watch them, we could.
Yeah, just so we knew how it was done. I wonder if there's a protocol that they have to follow. I know when you do a water sampling, you know, to check your own water, they tell you run the water for X amount of minutes, do this, and I wonder if your interns are following the protocol when they draw the water.
So I think, I still think we might want to be a bit proactive and to keep the ducks from, they're gone for now, but
Yeah, we'll keep our eye on it.
Okay, yeah.
It looks like the whole bunch, we again,
state will allow us to use that,
we can use.
that
Scared of
net,
scare
That
the-
method. Yeah.
The rest,
right? Especially like on a Sunday evening,
not a good-
if we see any ducks on Sunday, since we know they're coming Monday,
oh, sure.
and we can pick, we don't have everyone there every night, but,
Like I say, keep them away from.
oh, yeah,
Friday,
well, that's what I'm saying,
Saturday,
let's be proactive.
Well, you know, maybe, you know, I'll talk to Chief, he's got people on. We'll
Swing
go
by.
out and swing by on Friday, Saturday. Sunday. And then at the stand.
No,
Go out in 10 minutes.
they don't see any ducks.
They don't
They see ducks.
Go ahead.
Yeah, good with that. Proactive. Positive, stay. Okay, anything further? For the wildlife. Fingers crossed. Okay, anything board concerns and directives? Please.
I know there's been discussion about the docks needing repairs. Is that been done? Is it scheduled to be done?
We did not. No.
We decided to postpone.
We made some temporary improvements so that they can be used right now.
Right.
But we don't have any rebuild
Okay,
plan on anything like that. No.
that would probably be enough of an expenditure that would be.
Well, yeah, if we actually replace the foam underneath or anything, that would be. Yeah, that would be.
And then probably I'm not the only one with this kind of mind, but I'm looking at the figures. And we've been talking about when we had our football meeting back in April, other possibility of incinerator road, you know, the rain and flooding. We were just stones throw away from water being an issue here. And we know there was almost lost that one.
We do have,
So this time of year, we have football. So that is the summer. But, in winter time, Bill can tell you, a winter time dress is. Don't know what it would be within no time, probably not even.
I think what is every 2 years, we do the emergency management,
Yeah, hazard mitigation,
hazard mitigation plan, and that's been a perennial,
yes, that is our number one.
yeah, failure. If you-
On our hazard mitigation plan. And we have the Forest Service provides input into that. It's actually run by the State Department of Safety, so they are all aware that that is our number one concern. We will continue to look for ways to do it. They're making, I think they have a couple of projects planned on Triple I at the Forest Service right now. Things like improving culverts and bridges and improving the road surface, but beyond that, we're not looking at anything. And it's not gonna be paid for anything, it's gonna be a.
Well, it's paved from the other end
Yeah,
to
paved on
Russell
the other
Pond.
not on Amherst.
And then they paved this end up to that steep part because it was just unraveling. The one section, first section, but there's no plan to improve it all the way through at this point. Other than routine maintenance of drainage.
Once you get up to the height of the land. By Osceola, where the height is Osceola. From then on, it's pretty good.
Right, it's that steep part where, you know. Tires churn up the gravel, and that's why it gets all washboarded and everything.
We're at the mercy of the state. So. Having its course.
That is the only one we had some discussions with another way other than III.
Well, we've
But
talked
they-
about the other side of the Maverick, where there used to be a road, a log road through there. We've talked about using the power lines. Because those are higher up.
Well, the old Waterville Road is actually above the current 49.
Right,
The old
right.
road in the Waterville is up above that. And after Irene, I suggested we seriously consider maybe putting the money into that. So that if there's another Irene, we don't have the same situation.
The road isn't right along the river.
We had, right.
It's higher.
It was also bridge at Moose Hollow, so. We don't really, then you're up at
There are
6 mile.
There are
bridge.
several points being.
There's several points there that are pinch points. And you couldn't use you couldn't use
Right.
6 Mile Bridge because you couldn't, the dirt road in Thornton was cut in a couple of things.
Or you want to have an egress. in completely
Yeah,
different area,
That's right,
like III.
like triple. That's not realistic. We never. For the foreseeable future.
But I gotta say though. I don't know that the Forest Service has ever heard from the town that you desire for that to happen in a strong way at least.
Yeah, they were here for the hazard mitigation plan
Okay,
sessions.
because
and They heard us.
there's a couple of things. I mean, one, from a business standpoint. Anybody that's headed north that wants to take a detour, take a detour through Waterville Valley. They might say, I don't, because we have to go all the way back to 93 to head north.
Yeah.
Where if there's a decent road. Continuing on, it might bring more business, more daytime business to the town, but you have to ask yourself, do you want that?
Yeah, I think the town will be split on the answer to that question.
So that's the
But I don't
debate.
think that's really been a consideration. I think it's been more on the safety issue, public safety.
Right, and the one
We have
way,
road.
one way in, one way out, that's,
Right.
Yeah.
Talk about the several thousand people here, like over July 4th, how do we get all those people out of here? When we don't, potentially. They got hit, but they got hit out in like Montpelier. Vermont, over a holiday weekend.
and that was a flash. I mean, that happened in hours. And now they're having to
And
do it.
really, you're not talking about, most of those really isolated spots where 10 and 20 people at a time. Here, you would be isolated potentially hundreds of.
Certainly hundreds, maybe even thousands, depending on the day.
So it definitely is something that we've talked to them, right? I know, Chief Noyes has shared it with Forest Service for his capacity of public safety. It's in the hazard mitigation plan, so. And we've asked people.
It's gonna take political muscle, I think.
Oh, wow.
Political muscle, state level. Federal, something.
We're gonna get the ice and arena, yes.
Oh, yes, yeah, actually, when I saw when Mark and I talked about it, I'm sorry, I meant to mention earlier. We saw we had all this on the agenda, I told Mark, let's put that off to that discussion off until I.
Well, I'd like to get them,
Yeah,
get the agreement, it's,
Yeah, no, we can get that, we can get the agreements.
Yeah.
But just to have, just as an agenda item.
yeah, but. you know,
Yeah,
have
and look
to
at it before we-
digest
No,
it.
no, no, you'll.
Yeah, no, that was the
Right
idea.
on with this.
If you want to get those out to us, and we'll definitely add it, assuming nothing crazy gets put on our agenda on the 26th, we'll definitely make that an agenda item. I could mention that to you guys, and it would be 2.5 hours and just seeing what we have, and we still have a non-public. Any other board correspondence? I mean, okay, anybody else? See, we whittled it down to 2 people.
Mhm.
Wow, they're real troopers.
Haven't been here for a while, so
Yeah,
All right, so
I'm still here.
thank you.